What's up, everybody? So already you should know that we're going to be installing a servo on the Defender right now, but this video is actually good for the High Trail and the Bronco, so it'll work for any 4M that is out as of the 26th of April 2024. Okay, so with that being said, let's hit the intro and then we get down to it. What's going on? Quick reminder from Urban Crawlers that this is a step-by-step video aimed more for beginners. If you have any video suggestions, please leave them in the comments. Other than that, let's get going. All right, so we're going to go over a couple of things that we need. We need 2 Allen keys. You're going to need a 1.5 millimeter Allen key and a 2.0 millimeter Allen key. You're going to need a pair of wire cutters. The servo, whichever servo that you choose to put into your vehicle, that's what you need. And the servo horn itself, if it's an aftermarket servo and everything, and it doesn't fit the horn that actually comes with the truck. We're going to need 2 pairs of 4-inch zip ties. So these are purchased at Harbor Freight. And I'm going to go with a parts bin, which is basically a soap dish from IKEA. You could pause that, take the picture, and get the part number. It's about like $2 or whatever from IKEA. All right, so remove the top from the truck. So you should know how to do that. You have these clips right here on the front and rear of the vehicle. Okay, my truck has a lot of parts on it, such as this AKA winch. So I'm gonna disconnect the winch from over here. I'm gonna hit those 2 tabs and remove the top. Now I do have a light kit, so I'm gonna have to remove this plug from the light kit. All right. So I know a lot of people are not gonna have the winch, but because I have this makeshift winch or whatever, I'm gonna clip it to the back of the truck. So that way it pretty much stays out of the way during this whole process that we're gonna be taking the servo out and everything. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is unstrap your battery mount right here. Take the battery out and set it to the side. Okay, we can leave the strap open. I want to go ahead and have you guys unplug everything from the ECU. So I'm going to zoom in right here and show you guys right here. So we're going to be removing this, which is basically this bottom plug here. It's going to be the motor, servo, and then the front lights. Yours might look different. It might have 1 wire. Mine's is definitely just set up a little bit different. So I want all the plugs and wires that come from the battery mount right here out and out of the way. Now we're going to go to the front of the vehicle and we're going to go ahead and flip it over on its side. I'm going to show you guys real quick. We're going to take the 1.5 millimeter and we're going to get this screw right here that's in for the servo horn. And we're going to counterclockwise is going to remove that screw and get that in place so I can show you guys what we're doing. Get some more light on the subject here. All right, so counterclockwise is going to remove that steering screw. Now I do have a performance steering rod. That's why mine's is blue right now. So this is where the parts bin comes into place. So we're going to put everything into the dish of the parts bin. All right, so we got the screw in the parts bin. So now we already removed the screw. So the servo horn right here, hope you guys can see that, where that screw was going into this horn. I want you to take it and push it up very slowly. Okay, so it should be out of the way and to one side. There's a whole reason why that I want you guys to do that, and you'll find out in a second. So we're going to go ahead and take these screws out here. We got one in the front. This is going to be a 1.5 millimeter. And that's going to be counterclockwise to remove it. So to avoid everything blurring up, I'm just going to show you guys from this side. So that's one screw. And then we have the other screw is going to be straight down here. So once you move that wire out of the way, you can see the screw that we're trying to get to once it stops blurring up. So you can see that screw. When you push the suspension from the bottom up, it comes to the top more, a little bit more. So I'm trying to get this in a good position to see that screw. So there we go. Removing that screw counterclockwise. And then as you can see, that screw's out. I'm gonna put that in the parts bin. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're going to remove these two screws for the battery cage that we have right here. 1, 2. So 1.5 millimeter counterclockwise is gonna get that done again. So just go ahead and remove that. One, two, that's the second one there. All right. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna push from the transmission side. We're gonna push the cage up. It's gonna feel like it doesn't wanna go up and it's a little stuck. That's because of this sticker that is placed right here. It basically sticks to the transmission a little bit, so don't worry about it making that noise, that popping noise. So now on the rails over here on the left and right side, it's like a C channel, and it has a groove from the thing that goes inside the C channel. So what you want to do is basically take the battery cage and twist it like a sideways, and it'll peel out of that C channel. And this is basically the part that we're looking to get out of the C channel of the frame. So if you could see the C channel on the frame right there, the groove inside on both sides, that's where these two nub pieces are going to be riding. Right, so we have that out. This is where the wire cutters come into play. Be very careful doing this part. First, we're going to remove it from the battery cage. So we're going to just pull the wires out this way. And then we're going to untuck the wires from the battery cage this way. All right, go slow so that way if any of the connecting pieces get stuck. And then we're going to pull out the wires from this way. And then we're going to cut the zip ties off. All right, so you should have 2 zip ties. If you have a high trail, I believe it's only 1 zip tie. So we got the one here. We'll cut that off, put that in the parts bin. We got the second one here. Like I said, be very careful and mindful of how you're cutting these off. All right, so then all that's released. So now we could just separate all the wires to isolate the wire for the servo. Now the servo, you push the truck all the way down, pick the servo up. We're gonna pick the servo up and then turn it to the opposite, to the side where we spun the front piece, and it should just remove itself and get out, basically. Let's see if I can show you guys that from the front view. So I want you guys to look all at everything right here. We're gonna push the truck down. Pushing the truck down brings the servo up a little bit more. We're gonna lift it up, and it's focusing on the tire and not the servo itself. But you can see me twisting it and getting it up and out of the way. All right. So now we have the servo horn out. This is where the 2.0 millimeter Allen key is gonna come into play, because we have to remove this Allen key that's holding down this horn. It's called a horn, like a trumpet horn. This is called the steering horn. So we're gonna put the Allen key in, and counterclockwise is gonna get that out. All right, we could actually leave that screw in the Allen key. We're gonna get right to it. Then you just grab the trumpet horn and pull it directly away from the servo. And then depending on if the servo's good or bad, just do whatever you want with it. Put it to the side, put it away. If you have to repair it, I'll probably try to do a video on that if I ever get a repair kit and everything. So now, how do we get the servo to line up properly onto the servo that we have here? It's fairly simple. What we're going to do is we're going to grab our battery, okay, and then grab our controller, which hopefully we had nearby. All right. So we're going to go ahead and turn the controller on from the bottom switch here. You'll see the green dot up here illuminate, saying that it's on. And then what we're going to do is we're going to plug in the battery. So now, because we unplugged everything, the motor should not be plugged in, so we don't got to worry about the truck going forward or back. So if you see I hit the throttle, nothing happens. Okay. So now we're going to take the servo, the new one, and I'll show you guys right here. Right where it says servo, right there, we're going to take this servo plug and plug it in right into that spot. Okay, it only goes one way because it has this little plastic piece on the actual connector. And you can see right here that that plastic piece has to go on this side, on the right, or on the bottom of the screen, facing the bottom of the screen. So we're going to go ahead and plug that in. Now you might hear the servo make some noise. All right, I know you guys can't see, but now if you look at it, and when I turn the steering, it's going to turn the servo. So now what we want to do is we want to take the remote control, or you can see here. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to take the remote control, and then right here where it says steering trim, we're going to, while looking at the servo itself, we're going to adjust the steering trim, and you see how it moves very slowly. Okay, so you want to make sure that this trim is on 0, because that's going to be the center, if you will. And now we're going to take the servo horn and try to hold the servo as straight as possible with putting the servo horn back on top. It only goes in one direction where the teeth line up. So now if you see the servo horn is off to the side a little bit, we're going to pick it up and try to straighten it out again. So this might take some tries because the teeth only allow you to put it in a certain direction. So even if it's off just by a little bit, don't worry about it. We're going to fix that. So if it's here, definitely try to get a little bit more straighter than that. So we're going to be able to use it right there, which pretty much looks as straight as we could get it. So now we're going to take the screw with the screwdriver and just get it ready back in. Now I want you to shut off I want you to unplug the battery, unplug the servo, and then turn off your remote control and put it to the side. So now the screw is halfway in, and now we're going to go the rest of the way down. You're going to hold the servo horn with your finger, and then we're going to just make it a little snug. All right. If the servo turns slightly, that's fine. Don't turn it excessively, so that way you don't cause any permanent damage to the servo. Okay. So now that's all set up and good to go. So now what I want you to do is turn the servo slowly to one side. Either side, doesn't matter. So now that that's done, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the servo with the horn facing down. We're going to put it into the cage right here. So let's zoom in and I'll show you guys that. So this round cage right here is where we're putting the servo. So the horn, I want it to go in first and on the other side of the cage. So you might have to put the servo on an angle just like that. Now I want you to lift the truck up, making the suspension drop down. So your truck will look like this. So instead of being like this, let the suspension drop down. And it should help you get that servo into place. So I'm going to do it one more time. So you guys, we got the horn facing down. We're going to put the horn into the hole first. And then we're just going to push it, and it should line up right in place where the screws got to go in right there. 1, 2. Now we can let the suspension down. Now get the 2 screws that we took out and put in the parts bin. They should be the 2 mushroom head screws. So I'll show you guys the differences between all the screws. So you see we have a mushroom head Then we have the mushroom head with the spacer right there, and then a flat head. Take these two. Those are not the ones that we need. We need these two mushroom heads. So the ones that look like this. 1, 2, those are the ones that we're using right now. So we're going to put those back into place with the 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench. And we're going to put the first one in the front. Right there. All right. So we're going to, clockwise is going to get that back into place. And we're going to screw that all the way down until it gets flush with the bottom of the truck or the bottom of the mount. So that one's in. So now we're going to get the other one. Get it ready on the screwdriver or the Allen key. Let's get this wire out of the way a little bit so we can see what we're doing. And we're going to go for that back hole right here. Now I'm trying to line it up so that way you guys can see what's going on, but the camera and the truck are not cooperating. There we go. So it should screw back down with very, very little resistance. If it's given resistance, that means that you're cross-threading it or something. So just back it back out and try it over again. There we go. And then once it stops on its own, then you just want to turn it a little bit more to make it snug, and it's good to go. So now we're going to go ahead and flip the truck over again on its side. And we're going to get that servo, the horn, right there. Okay, and we're going to push it to the middle a little bit. You don't got to go all the way because we could turn the steering to line it up right there. So now if we turn the steering, it lines up with the servo horn, as you can see it right there. Now this is where we're going to grab this screw that looks like this and drop that in the hole, lined up with the servo horn. And we're going to screw that into place. Okay, you could do this with the Allen key as well. Now, I apologize because it's crazy difficult to get it on film without my hands being in the way. So that's it lined up right there. I'm going to use my tweezers. You guys could use whatever you want because you're not making a video, but I want you guys to see. Basically, that's lined up right there. So eventually I'll get this, and that way we can move on with the video. So holding the screw with the tweezers, line that up right there. And then the 1.5 millimeter Allen key is going to get that into place. And we're going to screw that back down into the servo horn through the steering arm, connecting the two together. All right, once it stops, just give it a little bit to make it snug. And it should be connected like that. All right. Now, if your steering horn is black and everything else is black, it's just because you have factory parts. These are aftermarket parts on here. So that's the only big difference between that a regular truck and my truck and whatnot. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to try to clean up the wires a little bit. So we're going to grab all the wires right here by the motor, and we're going to bring them all together right here by the motor, like you can see here. So I want you to take a lot of slack and give it to the actual servo. All right. So what that means is basically you should be able to fold the wire over your finger on the servo, just like that, and then put your finger underneath. So if you could see, I made a loop and I'm able to put my finger through the loop. Okay. And then I grabbed all the wires over here, down here by the motor. And that's where I want to put my zip tie. So I'm going to take this tag right here and I'm going to wrap it around all these wires. So that way the tag's not sticking out, or you could remove the tag if you want to. Now you have the choice where you could zip tie all the wires to the actual frame itself, or you could just zip tie the wires and have them float. It's up to you. But factory, it comes where it's just zip tied in midair. So we're gonna put the zip tie just on the wires alone. And then I'm just gonna make sure that I get that tag in the zip tie. So that way, and I messed it up already. I have to cut that tag off later. Sorry about the jumps. I just hit the camera. So there, we have the wires in place. Right? So just like that, we have the wires in place. So now I'm going to take the zip tie, the wire tie cutters, or wire cutters, and cut the top off. Throw that in the parts bin. So now we're going to take the battery cage, right? And we're going to run this back into place. So what we're going to do here is the motor is up here facing the front. So the battery cage is going to face this way with the two holes, 1, 2. As you can see here, the two holes are going to face the motor. So we have the motor facing this way, and then this hook here is going to face the back of the truck, which is this side here. So right now I want you to grab all your wires, and we're going to start running them through this first hole in the cage right here on the bottom. So we're just going to run, that's the servo. And the lights. And then the motor is going to be the black one with the red and black wire. So we're just going to make sure that all those wires come through. And then we're going to go ahead and drop them right down into the other hole right there. So we're going to do the same thing. Now it gets a little tricky because the wires want to start playing around and everything. So if you keep them in order, it helps a little bit. If not, it's fine. So we're going to drop the first cable down through. The second cable, which is going to be, that's the motor wire. And then we have the last cable, which is the lights. And we've got them through. All right, so at this point, you just want to try to make sure that all the wires stay pretty much flush down here. And then we're going to go ahead and take all the wires and go up behind the battery cage. You can pull this out with your hand and push the wires through, or you could use your Allen key and fit the wires through one by one if you want to. It's completely up to you. If you want, you could put one wire at a time to try to make sure that they stay pretty flat, which is fine. So we're gonna do 1, 1, 1, 2. All right, so we got what we can through. So now we need a little bit of slack. Okay. Now we're gonna put one side of the tabs on one side of the rail. We're gonna push all the way down, and then we're gonna spin the motor cage up like this, and then right next to the ECU, you're gonna push it down on until it touches the rail, and then slide it back down forward, and it should lock right into place. Now, I recommend pulling a little bit with the wires, so that way the wires have some room. So you see how much room we have here with the wires? All right. So that way, now you have the battery cage nice and flat, connected to the car itself. So when you have that position, you're gonna grab all the wire cables at the same time, and we're gonna pull through a little bit while holding the battery cage down. Okay, we're gonna pull through a little bit so that way we can make those wires tight so they're not flapping around. So as you can see, they're running all good, just like that. It looks factory. Okay. So now we're gonna go ahead and grab the two bolts to bolt the motor, the battery cable down. right here, 1, 2. And that's going to be with the 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench. And that's going to go right there. I apologize about the blur. And this battery strap is not helping the situation. It keeps trying to zoom in on the screwdriver. My apologies. I'm so worried about the camera angle. I'm screwing it into midair. So now you just make sure that all the wires are flat and spread out. So that way when you turn it to the side, it should be as flat as possible. So when you put the battery back in, it doesn't interfere with the battery. And we got that one screw down. Now we're going to get the other screw on the other side. Get the other side right there. And clockwise is going to get that back into place as well. That's a good image of it. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take all the wires and we have them pretty much close together. So we're going to bunch them up here at the bottom. We're going to grab our other zip tie. Now, you don't have to do this, but if you want to, I would do it because this is just how it was set up from factory. If you don't want to, like I said, you don't have to. So we're going to put the zip tie on the bottom here. As you can see, it's connected right there. Can we show you in the front? There we go. So this is the zip tie right here. We got all the wires connected at the bottom here. And we're just going to zip tie them together. And as you can see, it's still clipped in to that little notch. All right, we got all the wires clipped into the notch. So now we're going to go ahead and cut the zip tie. Get that out of the way. So now, I don't know if you noticed, but the servo, this is the new servo wire. It's very, very long and it's just crazy and everything. So if you want to clean up the wires, you can do a little trick, which these light wires I don't really care about. So I'm just going to plug these in. That's not going to be nothing that I'm worried about. I'm going to let those go because they're not that long anyway. And then the same thing with the actual motor wires. So let me show you on the overhead. Let's get as close as we can to this. So the lights are going to go right here where it says lights, where these blue ones are on the top. So that's where the lights are going to go. And then the motor is going to go one direction because it's flat on the top here and it has little rounded edges, if you could notice that. So it should fit only one way inside this piece right here. And just for orientation, the red, the positive, is going to be on the outside of the actual ECU or whatever. This is a receiver and whatnot. So those wires are so short that it doesn't really bother me. But I have this long wire and I don't know what to do with it. You could wrap them around the other ones if you want. Or you could just do a little trick, which I like to do to make it look cool and whatnot. You could take one of your Allen key screwdrivers, and this is going to be the 2.0 mil, and you could go ahead and wrap the actual wire around the screwdriver. Now when you do this, make sure that it's flat, and then you're going to just wrap it around all the way. All right. So you want to go all the way around. And then you see how it's spread out? We're going to close it together. And then we're going to rotate it a little bit more so we get more of the bottom end of the wires. And then now you could do this in a couple of different ways. You can heat it up with a lighter, or you can heat it up with a heat gun very gently. Because kids watch sometimes, I recommend that you can do it with your hand, with your fingers. You just rub the wires back and forth. It's like rubbing your hands together until they heat up. So you want to do the same thing with the wires. So you could just rub the wires real quick until they heat up. Right, and then you just basically remove the Allen key, and then the wires should stay in a spin fashion like this. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna line that back up and plug it back in. I already told you it only goes one way because it has that little tab on it. So right where it says servo, right there, is where we're gonna plug it in. So we're gonna get that guy plugged in right there, and then we're good to go. And now, as you can see, we got a nice little wire setup, and we're looking exactly factory how it was when we took it apart. Okay, so now everything's set up. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the battery back in, and we're gonna strap the battery down. All right, so real quick, if you plugged in the vehicle and you notice that the steering is not in the same direction that you had it when you first started, and it feels weird and it feels like it's turning weird, I'm gonna show you real quick on how to adjust your remote control so that way it'll turn in the opposite direction. So if you notice right now, if we push to the front, the vehicle goes that direction over there. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna reverse it. That way when you push to the front, it's gonna turn towards me instead of away from me, all right? So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna unplug the vehicle real quick. Okay, the lights are gonna turn off. We're gonna go ahead and, while the remote control is still on the on position, we're gonna go ahead and press this set button that we have up here on the top. So we're gonna press this button and then hold it until the light starts blinking. So I'm holding, blink, I'm letting it go. Once it starts blinking, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the steering wheel forward. You can turn it forward or you can turn it all the way back. It doesn't matter which direction you turn it, as long as you turn it all the way, and then press the set button until it stops blinking, or just press the button once, set, and then it'll go solid. You let go of the steering servo, and then we're gonna plug the truck back in. Okay, so once I get the plug back into the truck, there we go. So now, if you're looking at the tires, remember when we pushed forward this way, the tires went that way, so we want them to come towards me. So now, there we go. It's set up in place. Okay, now that's done. Now, if you're driving straight and you notice that your truck is drifting to one side, that's where this piece comes in, the actual trim right here. So if you turn this, oh, the controller, my batteries are falling out or something. Oh, they're dying. What? What's going on with my batteries? My bad, I was having a problem with my batteries. So if you're driving the truck and it's going in one direction too much, so like it looks like that, you just turn this little wheel right here until it starts going straight, and you're good to go. If the wheel is turning, if you have to turn it all the way down and for the wheels to go straight, then you have a problem with your installation. You missed one of the steps or something. So I just recommend that you rewind the video and just do everything all over again pertaining to resetting or recalibrating the actual servo. You don't have to go through all the wiring, running of the wiring and everything. So with that being said, my name is Hugo with Urban Crawlers. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. If you have any recommendations for videos for beginners, leave it in the comments and I'll try to get the videos done for you guys. All right? Thanks a lot for watching. Later.